Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP, and I gotta start with this. Kenya just passed a bill to legalize Bitcoin and crypto for its 60 million citizens. It's happening. What's really happening is this right here. This comes from Mr. Man, Kenya and Ripple. While these countries state Bitcoin, here's what they really mean. The pilot was designed to test how stablecoins, digital wallets, and blockchain rails could create faster, cheaper, and more inclusive payment systems for digital gig workers in Kenya. It sought to reduce remittance and payout friction for thousands of online workers earning small sums via microwork platforms such as Appen, Remote Ask, and Somasource, and to explore how blockchain rails could enhance income resilience in volatile currency environments. That's what's really going on in Kenya. It's nothing about Bitcoin adoption. And the reason they want this to happen, this actually helps people. Think about people that send money home. Right now, it's very expensive and time consuming. It could take up to 3 days, sometimes even longer. Using blockchain, you could do it in a matter of seconds for less than a penny. And that is absolutely game changing. This comes from the National Cryptocurrency Association. Institutions are moving on chain. In just the past few weeks, we've seen major banks piloting blockchain platforms for debt and settlements. U.S. brokerages reopen crypto trading for retail investors. Exchanges in active talks with regulators about tokenization. Asset managers launching tokenized stocks and ETFs on chain. For crypto in America, traditional finance is starting to meet digital assets in custody, trading, regulation, and markets more than ever before. Institutional adoption is already happening, but it's happening at a very low level still. We have not seen the real boom of institutional adoption yet. That is still coming. The institutional Fomo is real, 30 plus and counting XRP ETF applications, stablecoin regulations, RLUSD. Once custody is settled, retail will be priced out. Get XRP now. And I totally agree with that. You see the demand for XRP. There would not be 30 plus ETF applications for a cryptocurrency unless there was demand for it. And that's why once they go live, I think the price is going to change very quick. Here he goes again. XRP is ridiculous, but Satoshi possibly being in North Korea, China, or Russia, and supposedly investing in Bitcoin, not knowing, that's totally reasonable. Mark Yusko is a total clown. I mean, this guy literally hates XRP at this point. Take a listen.
Right, to say that like XRP, ridiculous, right? You got all this stuff owned by Brad and the foundation, and then you got the army trading that shares back and forth to try to get 286 or 289. If the foundation actually sold all those coins, the price would basically go to zero.
What if Satoshi was to sell all his Bitcoin? Nobody ever factors that in. You know, what if there's an attack on Bitcoin? A 51% attack. David Schwartz talked about that multiple times. Yet they think Bitcoin is the greatest thing ever. And I didn't know Ripple had a foundation. You know, Ripple holds a certain amount of XRP in the escrow, but they use it strategically to build more utility for XRP, which will lead to more value in XRP, pushing the price higher. And that's how we get rich as XRP holders. This guy just hates Bitcoin, or just hates XRP. Sorry. Stake and Shake dumps Ethereum payments plan after pushback from Bitcoin maxis. Now, this Stake and Shake, I think they're full of it. They're talking about how people paying with Bitcoin is even faster than using a credit card. And they state, in the second quarter of 2025, Stake and Shake same-store sales increased by 10.7%. Bitcoin has been a game changer. Thank you, Bitcoiners, Bitcoin burgers, and beyond. I honestly think Stake and Shake is marketing through Bitcoin, through the use of using the name Bitcoin. But think about it like this. If you can't walk in Stake and Shake and use any cryptocurrency that you want to use, all of a sudden, a lot of cryptocurrency investors and holders, they're just not going to go to Stake and Shake. They'll go somewhere else where that place accepts their cryptocurrency. I don't get this. I think that it's some sort of marketing scheme behind this, because we already know when using Bitcoin, it is expensive and it's slow, unless they're running it on the XRP ledger. Standard Chartered has been working with Ripple and XRP for years. Terry Cholossi, Chief Business Officer at Swift, and Michael Spiegel, Global Head of Transaction Banking, take a listen to what they say here.
Look, clients are increasingly looking at a world where they want not only to see data, but also assets and therefore value move instantly. And that's currently not the case. And in emerging markets, in fast-growing markets, the demand for always on is accelerating, and they're looking at reliable services. And tokenization is actually bringing a reliable service, actually brings innovation to the market that we can then bring to our clients. In my mind, the landscape of finance or digital finance is at a tipping point. So tokenization and digital assets are about to move from pilot into mainstream. And at Standard Chartered Bank, we have been a leader in this area.
And the reason that they're a leader is they've been working with Ripple and XRP for years. And he's saying that in front of Swift's Chief Business Officer at the same time. He's telling them everybody wants real-time payments. People are done waiting 2 and 3 days for a wire transfer, and they're tired of paying the fees as well. This is why Ripple will take over Swift at some point in the future. By the time ISO 222 is fully active, it'll be too late to position. Banks will already be running on rails powered by XRP and XLM. Adoption won't make headlines. It'll just replace the old system. Zoom out. You're watching history move without you. Are you ready? Time is definitely running out when it comes to ISO. I think it's going to be a very big deal, and I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of regrets for not investing in the ISO cryptocurrencies, the cryptocurrencies that could be utilized within ISO messages. And that's why I always tell people, if you want to position yourself, have a great portfolio, I would center around the ISO coins first and then branch out from there. Because I think there's a lot of cryptocurrencies that will also be utilized within ISO messaging, but it will happen later. Casper's doing big things with AI. Then you look at DAG. DAG's going to be a major player as well. A0, Nexera, Velo, Stronghold. There's probably others I'm missing. LCX is another one. But I would start with the core first, the core ISO cryptocurrencies like XRP, XLM, XDC, Algo, IOTA, ADA, HBAR, QNT. then I would start branching out to others. But as long as you have a decent ISO bag, I think you're going to do really well. I think you could get financial freedom quicker in those cryptocurrencies than any other cryptocurrency out there today. Unless you get lucky in some meme coin that does 1,000x. Crypto is bigger than the creation of the U.S. railroad system. Think Carnegie, think Vanderbilt, think Ripple, think XRP. If you had the chance to go back in time and invest in the railroad system, every single one of you would invest in it because you would get rich. It was an industrial revolution. You right now have the opportunity to invest in an industrial revolution. It's happening right now in real time. All you got to do is invest in the right cryptocurrencies. But take a listen to what Giancarlo says here.
I think what's happening right now is remarkable historically. Maybe the railroad technology of the 1880s had as much policy-led support as this does. I've never seen as much policy supported support for innovation. Even I was around in the 1990s during the first wave of the internet, when Congress passed some important legislation that was Republican-led, and the White House, Democrat-led, under President Clinton, worked very, very well together. And together, they developed a do no harm policy for the early internet, and that was really important. And yet, as forward-leaning as that was, this is even more so. And so I think you're going to have a lot of building of infrastructure, of L1s, L2s, L3s, and the crypto. As your listeners may know, those are the base layers of these blockchain buildings, and then the applications that are built upon that. But then also financing for this technology, because it does require a lot of capital to build it. So all of that is going to take place. Now, even with that policy-led support, that doesn't rule out there might be, and there very well might be, a bubble in prices, and we could have a bubble bursting, just as it did during every technology revolution. The railroad era of the 1880s ended in, I think it was 1897, with a major crash as big as the Depression. And the same could happen. But interestingly, when that crash happened, nobody tore up the railroads.
Right.
Nobody said, that's it, we're done with railroads. The railroad innovation went on. And railroads, we don't use them much anymore, so we don't realize how important it was. The United States was a series of regional economies until the railroad came. We were not a national economy. And we were not a national society because it was the railroad that brought the telegraph, that we could first read about things happening outside of our regional area. The railroad was fundamentally transformative technology that turned the United States from a series of regional economies into the greatest unified economy the world has ever known. Europe is still trying to get the type of economic unity that we achieved a century and a half ago. And so the railroad was very, very important to the United States. And it came with bubbles and busts. And I believe we will have bubbles and busts in this innovation. And when the inevitable bubble happens, there's going to be people out there saying, see, I told you this crypto stuff is bad. No, it's not the crypto stuff is bad. This technology is as important as we believe it to be. It's just that sometimes the valuation gets way ahead of the results. And I think there's always a chance of that, but it doesn't undermine how important this technology is.
And he's 100% right. This is bigger than the railroad system. This is bigger than the internet. You are investing into something that is absolutely massive. And it's two industrial revolutions coming together, blockchain and AI. And that's what's going to run the entire new financial system. And if you invest now, you can easily get financial freedom from this. It's going to happen so quick when it happens, though. And I think he's right. You'll most likely see a black swan through regulations. That's when most of this space is going to disappear. You're going to have a handful of cryptocurrencies that go on to be bigger than Amazon, bigger than Apple, bigger than Apple and Amazon combined. Because I even think Ripple's going to be that big. Think about it like this. What's Ripple trying to do now? They're trying to get that banking license. Once they get that, that's it. That's going to position XRP so much better than it is right now. RLUSD is a door opener. That's the way I look at it. It's a stable coin. So, of course, banks and financial institutions, they're all going to be on board for stable coins. But then Ripple introduces them to the secret sauce, which is XRP. White House close to announcing Selig as CFTC chair nominee. It also said to be vetting potential commissioners as it looks to rebuild the 5-member commission. So it looks like they're going to rebuild the CFTC, make it even more crypto friendly, I'm sure. But we need the laws to go with this. And that's what we're still waiting on. You know, if they keep delaying everything, the U.S. just keeps falling behind even more. Because Russia's not slowing down. None of the BRICS countries are slowing down at all. Europe is speeding things up. The UK speeding things up. Other countries, look at what's going on with Asia. They're absolutely crushing it right now. So the longer that the government stays shut down and the longer we go without regulations, we fall even more behind the rest of the world. MXRP just broke a launch record. It's now the fastest growing Midas real-world asset product ever, with nearly $30 million in deposits in the first 2 weeks after launch, showing the real rising demand for XRP yield. Like I said, the demand is there for this cryptocurrency. And as that demand keeps rising and more XRP is getting locked away, we are eventually going to see scarcity and demand at the same time. You know what that does to the price of XRP. All of a sudden, a few crypto holders, a few XRP holders start to really get rich. Because, you know, there's not a whole lot of XRP holders compared to the entire population of the world. And everybody always said, well, they're not going to let XRP holders get rich. And that was nonsense when they said it, even back in like 2017, 2019, 2020. It was stupid back then, and it's even dumber today. Think about all the Bitcoin holders that got rich. You honestly think they're not going to let XRP holders get rich? Come on. We are going to get rich together. And until it happens, stay patient and stay positive. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.